At Christmas, Dad muttered, "You always ruin the mood," and everyone relaxed the second I walked out with my coat. The room actually exhaled. I felt it in my back as I turned away from the table, shoulders dropping, chairs scraping just a little closer, the tight fake smiles loosening now that I wasn't sitting there absorbing every sideways comment. The fairy lights reflected in the sliding glass door as I shoved my arms into my coat sleeves with fingers that didn't want to work properly. My heart was doing that messy double thump in my chest, like I'd sprinted, except I just stood up. Someone coughed. Someone else picked up their fork again. Behind me, cutlery hit plates. A chair squeaked. My mum said, "Oh, for goodness sake, Alex." Under her breath, no one tried to stop me. No one said, "Wait, stay." I slid my feet back into my boots, grabbed my keys off the sideboard where they'd been sitting all day, and opened the front door to the December air that felt 10 times kinder than the room I just left. It was my third, last Christmas with my family. The other two, I'd sworn never again, and then by November I'd be answering my mum's texts about making new memories, and it won't be like last time. This year I'd gone in with conditions, like an idiot negotiating with a reality TV villain. No jokes about my body, no comments about my job being fake, because it's remote. No trash-talking therapy. I'd literally said those words on the phone to Mum in late November, pacing my kitchen while stirring pasta. She'd said, "Of course, don't be silly, we're not monsters," and then sighed so loudly I had to move the phone away from my ear. "Just come and have a nice day," she'd said. It's Christmas. Like that word magically makes bad dynamics dissolve. For context, I'm 31. I moved out at 19 and, apart from one 4-month disaster where I had to move back in during COVID, I've stayed out. My parents live 45 minutes away in the suburbs in the same brick house I grew up in. I'm the eldest of 3, me, my brother Liam, 29, and my sister Emma, 27. Growing up, Christmas was the day. Mum treated it like a project that would prove to the world we were a good family. Matching napkins, 7 a.m. presents, 9 a.m. church, midday lunch with the extended relatives rotating through like it was their turn at a theme park ride. And every single year, if something went wrong, it was my fault. When I was 8, ruining the mood meant crying when Dad smashed a plate because the turkey was dry. He'd thrown it down on the kitchen tiles, shards everywhere, and shouted at Mum, "You had one job," and I'd flinched so hard I dropped the bowl of peas I was holding. They scattered all over the floor, little green marbles, and Mum grabbed my wrist and hissed, "Stop overreacting. You're making it worse." When I was 12, ruining the mood meant refusing to hug Uncle Pete after I'd woken up from a nap on the lounge with his hand too high on my thigh. He'd laughed and called me prude in front of everyone. When I said, "I don't like it," Mum's face had gone tight and she'd said, "Can you not? It's Christmas. Don't start." When I was 19, ruining the mood meant asking Dad, quietly, after 3 glasses of wine, if he could maybe not bring up my failed first year of uni in front of the whole table. He raised his eyebrows and announced to the room, "Apparently we can't joke about Her Majesty's dropout year because someone's sensitive." Everyone laughed. I went to the bathroom and sat on the edge of the tub with my head in my hands until my eyes weren't red anymore. When I came back, Mum said, "There she is. Are we done with the dramatics? It's a long, boring pattern. You get the idea." The thing about being the one who ruins the mood is, sometimes you start believing it. For a long time, I did. I thought if I could just be more chill, if I could let the jokes slide, if I could ignore the drinking, if I could laugh when they call me names, then maybe Christmas would be easy. I spent a couple of years going overboard trying to be easy, bringing gifts that were perfectly thought out, helping Mum cook from dawn, making sure Emma and Liam were okay, smiling even when my stomach felt like I'd swallowed a handful of nails. And still, without fail, by mid-afternoon something would slip. I'd flinch at a too loud noise. I'd say, "Can we please not talk about politics?" When Dad started on his favorite topics. I'd tell a cousin, "Hey, that joke's not really funny," when it was about someone's appearance. And bam, spotlight on me. There she goes again. You always have to make it heavy. Why can't you let things go? You ruin the mood. So, this Christmas, I've been doing therapy for a year and a half. Proper therapy, not the 3 sessions through work and never go back kind. Real, week after week, dismantling your childhood stuff. I'd learned words like scapegoat and emotional safety and boundaries. My therapist, a very calm woman with kind eyes and a steel core, had asked me a few weeks before Christmas what I wanted the day to be like, not what everyone else wanted from me. It actually threw me. I mean, I don't want to go, I told her. She nodded. Okay, do you feel like you have to? I feel like if I don't, there'll be drama for months, I said. My mom will cry. My siblings will be annoyed they're stuck there without me as a buffer. My grandparents will hear some edited version and ring me from their retirement village to ask why I'm trying to split the family. She smiled a little at that, but not in a mocking way. And if you do go, what's the likely outcome based on the last few years? I snorted. I'll end up anxious and exhausted, trying to keep the peace. Someone will say something awful and call it a joke. I'll either swallow it and feel like I'm dying a bit inside, or speak up and be told I'm ruining Christmas. So, she said, either way, someone will be upset. The question is, do you want it to be you, or are you willing to let it be them sometimes? That question haunted me, because I am very, very good at choosing myself last. It's practically a hobby. In the end, I compromised with myself. I'd go, but with an exit plan and a clear boundary. I texted Mum a week before, hey, I'll come on Christmas Day, but I'm going to leave if people start making comments about my body, my job, or therapy. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just need it to be okay to excuse myself instead of sitting there feeling uncomfortable. She replied, honestly, why do you always expect the worst of us? No one is going to attack you. Just come and relax. Love you XX, which wasn't really what I asked, but I took it as the closest I was going to get. So Christmas morning, I drove over with a box of brownies and this tight knot of dread sitting under my ribs. The house smelled exactly the same as every year. Pine-scented candle plus ham plus a hint of Dettol. The tree was stuffed with ornaments we'd made as kids. The ones Mum insists on putting front and center like physical evidence we had a wholesome childhood. On the mantelpiece were the framed school photos. Liam's graduation, Emma's wedding picture, my Year 10 photo that Mum never replaced, because you look so happy there. She pulled me into a hug in the doorway that was slightly too tight, kissed my cheek with lipstick that left a faint mark, and immediately said, "You've lost too much weight. You look tired." I literally felt my brain go ding. One boundary brushed. "It's been a big year," I said lightly, stepping back. "Let's not start the commentary on my body, though, yeah?" She blinked, then laughed. Flustered. "I'm your mother. I'm allowed to be concerned. Honestly. Sensitive. Sensitive. Sensitive." I smiled tightly and walked into the lounge. Liam was on the floor building some horrible plastic monstrosity with his 3-year-old, and Emma was on the couch scrolling her phone, glass of bubbly already in hand even though it was barely 11 a.m. "Look who made it," Emma said, eyebrows arched. "The prodigal." "Hey," I said. "Merry Christmas." We did presents. It was fine. Awkward, but fine. My niece screamed happily about new dolls. My parents made loud, appreciative noises over the photo book I'd made them of the grandkids. I got a scented candle, a novelty mug, and a yoga mat because you're into that mental health stuff now, right? From Dad, who clearly thought he was being supportive. I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The blow-up didn't happen until lunch. It never does. It's always after a couple of drinks, when the food coma sets in and people get looser with their tongues. We were halfway through mains. The table was beautiful. Mum had gone full Pinterest with a red runner and those little crackers that never have anything good inside them. I was sitting at the far end next to Liam, who was doing his best to keep his toddler from using cutlery as weapons. Dad was at the head of the table, king of Christmas, carving knife laid out like an extension of his ego. Conversation drifted, as it always does, to jobs. Liam complaining about a client, Emma talking about her husband's promotion. Someone asked me how my internet job was going. I do UX/UI design freelance, mostly from my small, slightly messy but very safe apartment. It's good, I said. I've got a couple of stable clients now, so it's not as chaotic as it used to be. I'm paying my bills, which is nice. Dad snorted into his beer. Still can't get over people paying you to sit at home in your pajamas, he said. In my day, we called that bludging. There was a titter of laughter down the table. Not huge, just that awkward family laugh where people don't know whose side to pick. I felt my face go hot. I tried my usual deflection. Well, lucky for me, it's not your day anymore. It's mine. I smiled to show I wasn't trying to start anything. He took that as an invitation, apparently. I'm just saying, he went on, leaning back in his chair. You complain you're stressed, but you couldn't handle a real job. 9 to 5, proper boss, actual pressure. No wonder you're always in therapy. You don't have any resilience. I could feel Liam tense next to me. Under the table, Emma's foot jigged nervously against her chair leg. Mum made a small noise but didn't actually step in. That was always my job. Somehow, managing Dad, translating his jokes, smoothing things over. This time, something in me just refused. Okay, I said, setting my fork down carefully so it didn't clatter. I'm not doing this. Dad raised his eyebrows. Doing what? Having a conversation? God forbid. Being mocked about my job and mental health at Christmas lunch, I said. My voice was shaking a little, but it was clear. I told Mum I wasn't up for that this year. His jaw tightened. Oh, here we go. Another lecture. You can't say anything these days without offending the woke police. Or, I said, you could just not be cruel to your kid for fun. The air went sharp. Mum hissed, Alex, in that warning tone she used when we were little and about to say something that would make Dad mad. Liam stared at his plate. Emma's eyes flicked between us like a spectator at a tennis match. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my tongue. I wanted to shrink into my chair, apologize, do anything to make the tension dissipate. At the same time, there was this other part of me. Newer, quieter, but stubborn, that was very calmly saying, we said we'd leave if this happened. We promised ourselves. Dad shook his head, scoffing. You always have to bring drama, don't you? It was a joke. You always ruin the mood. There it was, the line, like a trigger phrase. My chair scraped as I stood up. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't flip the table or throw my napkin. I just stood. My legs felt heavy and floaty at the same time, like walking underwater. I'm going to go, I heard myself say. I told you guys where my line was. You crossed it. I'm not sitting here to be the punchline. Mum spluttered. Don't be ridiculous, sit down. We're not doing this today. We are, though, I said, because this is what today always is. You insult me, I either swallow it or protest, and then I'm accused of ruining Christmas. So I'm choosing the version where I don't sit here and get chipped away at for another 2 hours. Alex, for God's sake, just let it go, Emma muttered. I don't even think she realized she was saying exactly what they always say. Liam didn't say anything, but his knee bumped mine under the table on purpose, like a quiet little nudge. When I glanced at him, his eyes were soft and sad, not condemning. That helped more than I can explain. Dad muttered the line again, almost to himself, but loud enough. You always ruin the mood. I picked up my napkin, folded it, and put it next to my plate. Maybe the mood shouldn't rely on someone being okay with being disrespected, I said. My voice was weirdly steady. My hands were not. And then I walked out. That's the moment from the beginning. Me reaching for my coat on the hook by the stairs, fingers fumbling the sleeve, hearing the tiny, collective sigh of relief from behind me. That was the part that hit me hardest. Not the insult. Not even Mum's hissed. Don't you dare storm off and make a scene. It was realizing that the second I removed myself, everyone else could relax, because the pressure valve had been released. Black sheep leaves, homeostasis restored. Outside, the air was cool and smelled like someone up the street had burned their pudding. My hands were shaking so badly I had to unlock my car twice because I kept missing the button. I sat behind the wheel for a minute, forehead against my hands, breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth like my therapist has drilled into me. My phone buzzed. A message from Liam. "I'm sorry. Are you okay?" I typed back with fingers that still felt buzzy. "Not really. But I will be. Not your fault." Another buzz. This time from Emma. "You didn't have to make it so awkward. You know what he's like. You could have just laughed it off." I stared at that one for a while. Old me would have replied with, "You're right, sorry, my bad." New me just didn't answer. I put my phone face down on the passenger seat and drove. I didn't go straight home. I drove to my friend Mia's place. We've known each other since uni, and she'd invited me to hers more than once for what she calls orphan Christmas. All the misfits and people with chosen family instead of safe blood family. I'd always said no, insisting I had to go to my parents. This year, I'd quietly told her if things went bad, I might take her up on it. She just texted back, "Doors open." When I walked in, still in my good dress, with my makeup slightly smudged from the stressed tears I wouldn't let fall at my parents, Mia just held out a glass of something sparkly and her other arm. "Oh, honey," she said, looking me up and down. "You've got that just saw my family face." I laughed weakly and let her pull me into a hug. Her lounge room was cozy and chaotic. People sitting on the floor, someone's kid building Lego in the corner, a dog asleep on someone's feet. There was music playing low, not the constant blare of carols Mum loves, just a chill playlist. "Do you want to talk about it?" Mia asked. "Or do you want to eat cheesy potatoes and pretend we're in a sitcom with a laugh track?" "Bit of both," I said. Later, sitting cross-legged on her couch with a paper plate balanced on my knee, I told the story. The job comment, the therapy dig, the "you always ruin the mood," how the room seemed to breathe once I left. People listened. No one said, "Well, he's your dad." No one told me to give them another chance. A couple of people shared their own Christmas war stories. One guy laughed bitterly and said, "Families who say you ruin the mood are usually mad they can't control you anymore." I went home that night to my tiny apartment and sat on the edge of my bed scrolling through my messages. There were a couple more from Mum. "You upset everyone for no reason today. I hope you're happy with yourself. Next year, maybe think about other people's feelings before you start a fight." There was one from my grandmother's landline, "God help me. We heard you walked out on lunch. Don't let the devil steal joy from the family, darling. Christmas is about forgiveness." I wanted to throw my phone into the sink. Then another message came in, from an unknown number. It took me a second to realize it was my younger cousin, Holly, who I hadn't spoken to one-on-one in years. "Hey, it's Holly. Got your number from Liam. Just wanted to say, when you left, it was way more awkward than when you called your dad out. Not in a bad way. Just, it made me realize how much you've always been the person absorbing his crap so no one else has to say anything. It was weird without you there. Quiet. In a sad way. Anyway, I think you're brave. Merry Christmas." I sat there and ugly cried for about 10 minutes over that little paragraph. Because it was the first time someone in the family had acknowledged my role out loud without blaming me for it. I don't have some neat, tied-bow resolution for this story. It's April now as I'm typing it and things are still weird. I've seen my parents a couple of times since Christmas in neutral places like cafes for short, controlled visits. Dad pretends that lunch wasn't a big deal, and I overreacted. Mum occasionally slips in a line about last Christmas when you stormed off, and I say calmly, "I left because I was disrespected." That's not storming. That's protecting myself. Emma and I are strained. We text about surface things, her kids, work, TV shows. She hasn't apologized for her message. I haven't brought it up yet because I'm still working out if I have the energy to hold that mirror up to her. Liam and I have actually gotten closer. He doesn't say much, he never does. But at one coffee catch-up he said very quietly, "I don't blame you for leaving, you know? I wish I'd gone too. Next Christmas, I don't think I'll go." That feels both terrifying and like a relief just to write. I'll probably do Mia's Orphan Christmas or something on my own, even if that just means movies and takeaway and a walk on the beach. The guilt is still there. That 10-year-old part of me that believes if I don't show up, I'm abandoning them. But there's another part now, the one that picked up her coat and walked out, that knows staying in a room where you're the designated mood ruiner isn't actually loyalty. It's self-betrayal. I grew up thinking I was a problem to be managed. The older I get, the more I realize I was a mirror they didn't want to look into. It's easier to say, "You ruin the mood," than to ask, "Why do you get so tense when we start joking about your life?" It's easier to chalk my anxiety up to me being dramatic than to wonder if years of casual cruelty might have something to do with it. So yeah, at Christmas, Dad muttered, "You always ruin the mood," and everyone relaxed the second I walked out with my coat. I used to think that meant I'd failed some unspoken family test. Now I'm starting to think it means I finally passed one. I chose not to sit at a table where my comfort is the acceptable sacrifice for everyone else's good time. If that ruins the mood, maybe the mood needed ruining.